the window had been busted out and part of our gear had been stolen.
There's nowhere to play up here at all.
I'm sitting there kind of by myself, like waiting for my manners, and the mirrors, like the mirrors kind of like spin open like 90 degrees, like they kind of rotate open, and all these women in sexy lingerie can come walking out from behind the mirrors.
I'm just going to throw this out there that it almost sounded like you were kind of the dark side sometimes of the scene.
Just when I'd parted ways with Monuments, and so it was really, really desperate time of my life.
At the end of it, our bass player told us, like, he just looked at us and was like, yeah, this is my last show.
So, like, basically back to the Beast era.
Dealing with this alcohol intake, and we're at a Christian festival, and we're supposed to be a Christian band. I was kind of like, man, this sucks. This is not a good look.
Welcome everyone to another edition of Dark Side of the Scene. I'm your host Brandon, alongside my buddy Ed.
Hi everybody, once again.
Welcome back.
Right, this is our first real episode. Well, it's not real. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is we launched the podcast today, even though this is our 8th episode now,
Something like that.
right? And that's cool if
Yep.
you still have your attention, you know.
Yeah, we actually got a lot more downloads than I kind of expected. I tried to keep my expectation very, very low, so I'm never disappointed. But it actually was surprising that we've had a decent amount of downloads for a first day launch for a pretty much not very well promoted podcast.
I think it's kind of magical that all the shit talking I've done is now frozen in time for later to be used against me.
It's forever out there.
Right? Shit.
It is now part of the internet. It'll never disappear unless we get the global takeover by the rise of the machines. And
Oh
then,
God. Like, I mean, we're already there. I was on my phone all day mostly, and if that's not the rise of the machine, I don't know what to tell you because I'm exhausted.
biblical people say we're going to get a mark of the beast and it's an implant. I don't think it's necessarily an implant. I think it's whatever we have in our hand that we stare at all the time.
Yep.
That is the true mark of the beast.
Damn it. That apple's a 6.
The apple's got the bite taken out of it, and that's the apple that Eve bit into, and that's what ruined everything.
You know, that's funny you say that because in most movies, apple and people eating them is a symbolism of overzealous cockiness. People, like, you always notice the criminal or the bad guy eats an apple with disdain, and I'm like, that's so messed up how they use it all the time in movies.
Subliminal messaging.
Yeah, pretty much. That's weird. I don't have anything to rant about for once. I'm probably just, it's been a long day for me. I mean,
I guess my rant for the day would be
okay.
Just from the little bit of promoting I've done around here, a lot of people have taken this very seriously into the sense that this is going to do nothing but cause more issues and blackball bands and blackball musicians and cause a bunch of drama. My thing is
the podcast, right?
Yes, this podcast.
Okay.
Yes, this podcast. For anyone out there listening to this podcast, there are people who are musicians that are afraid that this podcast is going to cause a negative impact on a negative impact, if that makes any sense. They would rather have spoon-fed shit to them than try and make things better. They don't want to rock the cradle. We got a good thing going. Really? You like to pay to play? Like, you like venues taking money from the merch you paid for yourself? All that stuff seems great to them. I don't see how this is going to cause any issues. I think the mentality that they have is set in stone to where, well, this is how it's always been. Well, guess what? Things can be better. It can always be better. And yes, it could get worse. But
right.
I don't think this is going to make things worse. It's not like we're constant doom and gloom.
Right.
There's been a lot of funny stories, a lot of positivity from the stuff we've got recorded. Like, it's not just, I think there's a big misconception of what this was entailed to. And I don't know if that's my fault for how I described it, but the intention is for people to understand what it's like for bands having to deal with all these problems. And maybe one day these stories out there will help bands understand how to deal with these problems and maybe make things better for everyone. Like that's the whole point of this, in my opinion, and like in my mind, was to make a podcast for bands to share their stories as like a learning experience for other bands just starting out, or for people that aren't involved in music to know what bands go through, like maybe appreciate it more.
It's true. I feel like that makes sense only because, we went through some crap with the Beast, and it's like, man, if everything else seems to be more positive, why can't this aspect of what we've been doing before be more positive? Because it was never getting any better before all that shit either. It was just like, here you go, deal with it.
Yeah. And again, that's just a few people here and there. They've like, I don't see how this is going to help anything. Why don't you focus on the positives? Well, then, because you're brushing all the negatives under the rug, and then nothing's going to change. So anyone out there that is okay with having to pay to play, or all the other stuff that I've already talked about and we've already discussed before, if that's great for you guys, cool. Like 100% awesome for you guys. For everyone else that wants to see a positive impact, maybe something like this is what will help get that. But that's the end of my rant for today.
Wasn't really a rant. I feel like it's just something you just had to get off your chest.
Yeah. It's not, I guess, a rant in the sense of it's just me trying to maybe justify to myself of what I'm trying to do, and taking the negativity that they're throwing about this being negative as justification of it's not supposed to be negative, but whatever.
Right. Well said, I guess. You sound like a gruff cowboy today. I don't know. I picture you wearing a cowboy hat delivering this message.
I'm rocking the cowboy hat and my shit kicker boots that are made out of rattlesnake skin, and I'm just wearing my assless chaps and my vest.
Don't forget your red Solo cup with Mountain Dew in it.
Yeah, got the red Solo cup.
Oh wait, the alcoholic Mountain Dew. Remember, I have to try some of that next time.
I got me some whiskey in my Mountain Dew and a
gross
big old thing of Copenhagen Chew.
Nice.
So yeah, anyone out there still listening and haven't already said, what the hell are we listening to, and turned this shit off, we do appreciate you guys. Like, yes. 100% definitely appreciate you guys. Without the support that we've already gotten from just this small amount of time, it's actually pretty humbling. And then for everyone out there that's reached out, wanted to be on an episode, like, we're completely booked for almost like 6 to 7 weeks out already. So, and we're trying to do 3 to 4 podcasts, we're like interviews a week. So Ed and I are really busy.
But at least write down your stuff so you'll remember, and then when you come on, you'll remember what you were going to talk about. Because we're not forgetting you. We're just getting busy.
Yeah, there's a lot. So if you would like to be on a future episode, chances are it's going to be a ways off, but that's perfectly cool with us. We would rather have it this way. And in order to get on a future episode, you can send an email to me. Send it to brandon@darksideofthescene.com, and we will get everything sent to you that we need from you in order to get you scheduled on the episode. But tonight we are joined by someone who used to live in my area, and we actually played shows together years and years and years ago. And he reached out, not even aware that this was me, and he knew me. So it was kind of funny because I said, "Hey, dude, what's up?" And he's like, "Oh, shit, I know who you are." I was like, "Yep, it's me."
The guy with the cowboy hat. Oh.
So we're going to hang out here for a second and invite Tim on in here. So just sit tight and we'll be back with you in a second. I'd like to take this time to welcome Tim to the show. Tim, thanks for coming out and talking to Ed and I.
Absolutely.
What's up, Tim?
Oh, just hanging out in what we call the green room in our house. It's normally a dining room, but we don't really have dining parties. So it's just a bunch of cassettes on the wall and like gear haphazardly right now until I kind of tidy it up to be a little bit more studio space. So this is one of the first ventures in my quote unquote studio area.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Wasn't The Green Room a movie with Patrick Stewart recently? It was like a horror movie.
That man, I don't know. I usually
no idea.
I think so. I'd have to look that up. But when you said Green Room, that's the first thing I thought of was like the bald Patrick Stewart and him being a bad guy.
No, this one's way on the nose just because the walls are emerald green. And there was a large green bookshelf in here. So,
well, the room directly behind where I'm recording is my stepson's bedroom that I just painted bright neon Xbox green. The whole room is green. Yeah, so I know I've got a green room in here. So if I ever do green screen, I'll just face his wall and then don't have to worry about a green screen.
I could do so many spooky green screen stuff just because it's such a dark color. You'd have to. It barely work, but I think the Xbox screen would probably be much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you
sorry.
So I've no go ahead. It's fine. I
forgot what I said.
I've known Tim for a very long time because when you actually reached out about this podcast, you had no idea that you actually knew who I was.
Yeah, I just because it was through another group that we follow on Facebook that, you know, it's one of those things like, you know, that like other people are interested in the same stuff as you, but you forget like how close they are. So it was something for like one of Finn McKenty's projects. And like, I was just like, that's a really cool premise. I'd love to talk about that. And then you were like, dude, I was like, I didn't even read the name. This is fucking dope.
Yeah. I was like, I saw it said Tim Neff comment. I was like, Tim Neff. It's like, you know, I clicked on, I was like, oh shit, I know him. So
it could have been like I think there's like another actor in LA and another guy doing music in Ohio. I think that another one of us is rapper somewhere.
I'm assuming there's a bunch of branded rights too, so that sucks.
Yeah. That's okay. It's just easier to say it wasn't me.
That's true. It's true.
They got it wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, what have you been up to lately with music? I know you were involved years and years ago, but I think you've kept up with it. So what's some of the new stuff you've got going on?
So right now I am playing primarily I'm in two different groups. I'm in Antlerhead and then I'm in Quick Flower. Antlerhead is more like post-hardcore, obviously a lot more singing, like focus on song composition. Ty, who like sings and writes like 99.99% of it, he's got some great ideas, great lyrics that actually, you know, through being friends with him and being a fan of the music before I joined, it's been really cool to be on stage playing the songs and having these other memories of me just like kicking it in my van listening to that record. And then my other group is Quick Flower, and I do vocals for that group. And that one, it's probably the easiest way to describe it is like a sassy deathcore. It's really heavy, really chaotic. All the vocals and lyrical ideas are kind of like this hodgepodge of looking at pain and trauma and frustration through a comedic lens, and rather than it being the you know, beat down like I'm gonna destroy everyone in this fucking neighborhood because I'm an asshole, they all suck. You know, rather than that, it's the you get something more along the lines of someone who everything that they're saying is something they may have just jumped out of a car, like nearly missing, you know, hitting someone on a bike. You know, it's like, what the fuck, man? Can't you fucking see? You know, like sweet shit. Did anyone besides me in that black SUV witness that asshole in athleisure and poses right away, miles the fuck away from a fucking bike lane? Shit like that. And it's really
sorry, with a name like Quick Flower, sounds like you're doing like coffee shop hardcore. I don't know. It sounds like a peaceful name.
It it was a Wi-Fi password. This is what you do. If you can't decide on a band name, you all go and you just spend some time at one of the homies' house, and then when everyone goes to log in, you get the password and you realize, shit, that's the best name we've heard so far. So that's our band name.
Most of the passwords are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8. I don't know, something crazy.
I mean, mine says Silver Lake. I mean, I don't know if I'm gonna do a Silver Lake project anytime soon, but you're more than welcome to.
Good.
It's funny you mentioned Silver Lake because spoiler for anyone out there listening that's watches The Last of Us, but that name was dropped in the episode last night. So
yeah, and funny. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I just thought it was funny because Silver Lake's a real town not too far from us.
Yeah. Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, well, no spoilers here, but I will say that there is a little bit of a theme from what at least I came prepared to talk about that actually does tie into a little bit of the Silver Lake thing, ties into younger days. And now I feel like I'm like, as I'm talking, I'm turning into a grandpa. Then it's like, gather around me, and like all of a sudden the fucking fire just appears. And
I feel like that all the time.
Yeah.
Back in my day.
Yeah.
It's funny when you mention how you pick a band name, because you brought this band name up earlier before we were recording. The first band that I was in was called Gonococcus. And the reason it was called that is because we opened up a dictionary. It was a medical dictionary, and we just pointed to a word. And the word happened to be gonococcus. And it's like, well, that's the band name. And if anyone out there that doesn't know what that is the germ that causes gonorrhea.
Oh, that's why your cock is gone afterward. Damn it.
Yeah.
And
it was awesome playing the same bills at because it's a total death metal name too. But like it would be like Gonococcus, Ill Allegiance, obviously suspicious, so close to nothing. Had it stuck out, and I really, really wish that there would have been more documented from that time.
That was the era of before everyone had phones and recording capabilities and stuff like that, but there wasn't studios really to record. I think we actually did record some stuff, but that's been missing for 20 plus years now, which I am kind of happy that it is missing, because looking back now at myself and the music we were playing, which was nowhere near good because none of us really knew anything. We were all pretty noob when it came to playing. And
did you say noob?
I said noob.
I haven't heard that in a while.
I'm old
I guess we're gonna kick it old school tonight.
Yeah.
Welcome to Old Man Mondays on the dark side of the scene.
I'm probably older than both of you, so yeah, I'm older. I'm old.
I just turned 39.
I'm 43. Ha! Sorry.
No, sorry, I'm the baby then. So
that's cool.
But I mean, with this, for some reason, like the alternative music, like ages you weirdly too. Like, so just last summer, I was doing a run with Antlerhead, and we brought this young photographer out, a real cool cat named Chandler. Love that kid. But literally, when I say this, he was like an 18-year-old kid. And this was like one of his first runs and shit. And we were driving from, at this point, I think we were going from Chicago to Omaha. And we had this really awesome opportunity to play the emo night in Omaha, Nebraska, where Aaron Gillespie did an acoustic set for the actual event. And then we were when they have bands playing, it's always like you are like the hidden secret in the second bar. So like you're playing for everyone who's like tired of waiting in line for a drink. It's still cool, nevertheless. It was really awesome. But on our way there, God, man, I'm really bad at telling stories. On our way there, one of us decides to put on Under Oath record, and Chandler's like, "Who is this? You know, this fucks. This is cool." We're like, "It's Under Oath." He's like, "Yeah, man, this fucks." And I was like, they've been at it for a while." And he's like, "Oh, is it like, well, how old is this band?" And then he tells us, you know, he's like, "Well, I was born in 2000." And I was like, or I was born in 2002. And I was like, "Dude, I saw Under Oath before you were fucking born." What?
That shows, yeah, that shows his age when he says this fucks.
Yeah.
Is that like a new thing that people are saying? Because
yeah, like I'll fuck with that. I'll fuck with that. Yeah,
fuck with that. Fuck with this, or get the fuck out. Yeah, like, but yeah, it fucks. You know, it's banging.
I watched Silicon Valley and I always cracked up when the dude was always like, "This guy fucks." So I wonder if it's a play from that because I was like 5 or 6 years ago.
Oh,
But yeah,
possibly.
I
But
don't
yeah,
know.
so I definitely felt incredibly old in that moment where I had been part of you know, this thing longer than someone who, you know, was getting into it had been alive. And it's like, I think I might die on the way home from being old.
I think I played my first show. What was it? I think you were there too. It'd have been like 2001, 2002 time frame. I
Yep.
was still in high school and I graduated in 02, so it had to have been that right before I graduated.
Yeah, I think it was at Jim's Books and Beans, probably in the basement.
Yep.
Did you ever play upstairs?
We played upstairs where the books were all at. And then we played down the basement a few times. I actually have bad memories about all those shows because, and I have addressed this not on any other episodes, but I've always had like, I just felt like because we weren't necessarily from through high school, we were kind of not in the little cliques that were going on at the time. And now, granted, looking at it now, back then I took it all personally, but now looking at it, I was like, yeah, I understand why everyone didn't like us because we fucking sucked. But back then I just took it personal. Like no one wanted us to play shows. They spit at us when we were on stage. That's what I still harbor the most. Like, why the hell were people spitting on me? Like my first few shows, I had people spit on us, and they were all buddies with the two main bands that always played. And I think that's why there was so much bad blood and like stuff between me and some of the other people there, because when someone spits on you, you don't really just be like, "Oh, it's cool." So
Right.
I kind of harbored a grudge back in the day about the assholes that were spitting on us and making fun of us. But looking at it now, I'm like, yeah, I understand it. I've gotten older.
I also think like the Beast helps that, you know, that you don't want to really spit on anybody in public because then, you know, you'll get arrested probably.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah, that's, I think that shit is that felonious? Is that a
I think it is these days.
yeah.
Attempted murder.
Shit.
Thanks, Beast. You did something positive.
Although I gotta say, I feel a little bit better knowing that I'm better protected from those with halitosis and slobbery, you know? So like, I guess. But yeah, I no, and that time, like, I mean, kids are fucking cruel. Adults are cruel too, but
Yep.
yeah, actually, you know, even being part of that scene, I didn't fit in. You know, it was like there were times where like you know, I played guitar because I could play guitar, not because I was anybody's buddy, you know, kind of a thing. And from that, like, I think there's definitely over time, I took it as like me just kind of cutting my teeth and it proving to me that this is what I wanted. But as I say that out loud, that feels very Beauty and the Beast. So uh I think with all that, I think that there is something to be said about uh navigating toxicity. And that's actually kind of what I wanted to talk about, was like my journey through the toxicity of being in a band and being in social dynamics that maybe mean well, but don't do it in practice, or when time comes to practice, they're not even texting back, you know?
Hmm.
So, you know, I'm not sure how familiar you are with Peru, Ed.
I just heard there's a circus. That's all.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean,
He played here in what, 3 or 4 years
Oh yeah,
ago.
yeah, I did. I played that. I played there, and
I booked you
just
on that
come. I
one
remember
show.
coming a weird way. Like, why is there like a mountain range road here? I don't know. It was weird. I don't. You know what I'm talking about?
yeah.
Yeah, you came
Yeah.
down like Mexico Road or whatever.
That's weird. That is like, where the hell am I? I don't know. I found it kind of strange.
You went through the void, came out.
I guess.
Peru is the void.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's a very strange valley town. It has a lot. I mean, like it even has like one of those Bob and Tom songs from some dude that, you know, you can eat, drink, and pray in Peru, Indiana. And like at the time that like Brandon and I were coming up, it kind of turned into you can eat, drink, pray, work at Chrysler, get addicted to heavily addictive substances and probably die before 30, or
Pick up Air Force girls,
or play music. And some of us dabbled between the differences. You know, I was in that place where I did the eat and play music and go to church thing. But even as like growing as a teen and being part of the music that had like so much life in it, and that juxtaposed with what was supposed to be a belief system that was all around life being a very dead feeling thing, you know, that raised some eyebrows as a kid. And you start learning about all these other different genres and artists and struggles from different places, and not just America but around the world. The further you dig into I just like punk and hardcore in general, but all that entire umbrella of decades and decades and tons of recordings and thoughts. And so you have this place where like it becomes like that becomes the public place for the meeting of minds. And so I found myself kind of being this guy that I had been indoctrinated to proselytize, you know, like I got to go out there and win souls for Jesus, because if I don't, the world's going to burn. And
was that how you were raised, or this is later?
Yeah. Sorry. I am not very good with keeping time on this.
That's all right.
Yeah. So Peru has a very religious activity. And so like
I feel like the more south it's that way, and I don't understand why, but yeah.
I think the largest thing is like the way of keeping up appearances and a way of community outreach that really focuses on the fellowship end of it, but maybe not so much as the, you know, feeding the homeless bit. You know, so like it's more of about, you know, keeping ourselves moral, but really that's everyone shitting and farting in the same room without a fucking toilet, you know. Like whereas, you know, a lot of times I found myself in I would play shows, and this goes over my entire life, because of I did try to have a career in Christian music, where you have a lot of conversations around the show, before the show, at the show, after you played, and then there's the long talks with whoever else is able to stay at this person's house. Maybe it's one of the other bands, maybe it's another band that played a couple towns over and they're on their way to the next one, and this just happens to be almost a fucking truck stop at someone's house for bands, and you go back and forth on very serious matters, not intentionally, but the moment that it gets tossed out, it's like, yeah, we're a Christian band and this and this and this, and all of a sudden you start hearing a lot of struggle from people. And the thing that I think a lot of Christians would do is they would take that as like some kind of personal attack, that like, this vendetta is against you, why I'm hurt. And that's not the case at all. But really what it is that I'm getting tired of being hurt and no one having anything better than empty words and empty promises for me. And so like you go on and you keep seeing that, and there's so much of like cutting your teeth and dealing with people that even inside of what you're doing you would think would be supportive aren't. Another part of Peru is and its surrounding towns with these places and their practices, and some places being more conservative than others. There was actually multiple times as a teenager I was having to defend my own quote unquote music ministry because I was doing Christian punk and hardcore type stuff, and I would get brought with, you sound like a demon, like that's demon music, the Lord doesn't sound like that, and this, that, and the other. And those conversations, as stupid as they are, and those points in time when you really feel like you're trying everything in your power to be positive, and that's what you're being met with, it's just gutting.
It's just usually a guy with an acoustic guitar saying like his word of the Lord and songs of the Lord are more powerful than what you're doing, right? Basically,
right. Right.
That's weird.
And like
the same message, but I guess not to them, huh?
No, and like, and me, that actually like sparked a huge thing in me for what I continue to do and the type of hardcore that I was diving into and finding myself be the regular of. And like at this point in time, this is mid to late aughts Christcore stuff. So like, if for the jumbled bunch of that, these are the kind of places where you see someone get real fucked up in the pit, and then like after the show, like the band is praying over someone's broken leg, that was the norm.
Did it work?
You'd have to ask them.
I was gonna say, what's the address? Okay.
I mean, me personally, in a situation where I found myself like this, I believe we were praying for a black eye to go away. Because our dude got jacked in the face. And it was one of those things that even at the time, by then, I was just like, okay, there's a fucking level here, guys. Like, like there's something like off, because on the other side of that, like even though you've got like that ridiculousness, you do also have, and I think that you still see this across any genre where the music is vulnerable, and the artists, I guess, and their participants would be vulnerable enough to do this, but where people actually have an emotional reaction, visceral reaction to what they see and hear. And there was a part of me that had gone from having searching out violent visceral reactions like a la Gigi Allen or Dillinger Escape Plan, Norma Jean, even.
Hmm.
They're not per se violent, but they're chaotic looking live, and so you're getting those kind of reactions. Whereas by the time I was in a band called Dear Brother, that would have been 2007, I had pretty much come to this place where I wanted this band to basically be a church, like a hardcore church service for kids that didn't feel like they could go to church on Sunday mornings. And the irony and the and of this, and this is kind of like how like we worked in tandem with churches, is that like that would be part of our outreach, is that we'll come play your town Saturday night, but you need to like set us up with like places that these kids can actually like get Bible studies or something. So like, we did altar calls, and like the thing is, I'm very aware I speak a lot. So I just see just this long wave on my computer in red of just me talking forever.
No,
So,
no.
so if at any point, it's like you need me to stop and
No, it's
give
your
more content.
story. You want to get it out how
but
this affected you. Yeah.
I'm Tarantinoing this shit right now. So
well, you got to give everybody an idea because nobody knows. And again, this isn't like bashing on Christianity at all. We're just hearing a different story and their viewpoint, like yours.
I will make a comment. I've always thought Tim was one of the most legit when it came to the Christian music at the time, because a lot of bands were claiming to be, but I know for a fact that some of them were not what they claimed to be. And I always thought Tim was the only one in certain bands, even the ones that he was in back in those days. He was the only one that was authentic.
Thank you. I definitely have my demons, but I try. And right. I think that's now in my age, like that's the only thing that I can really ask of anyone else and inspire anyone else to do, is just fucking try. Can you try not to be an asshole?
Oh man. If anybody listened to that, it'd be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I do Quick Flower now. It's basically an antithesis of what I was doing before. But to me, hardcore was, so growing up in a church, and even at the point of my dedication as an infant, it was prophesied that I would be a pastor. And so there's like this weird expectation your whole life with that too. It's like, why are you yelling and screaming? Like, shouldn't you be like going off to Wesleyan or something? Like, all your friends went, and like sometimes like you keep up with your friends that are smart, so why are you fucking, like, well, they're not going to say why you fucking with this, but like just didn't understand that there was also a labor of love for the music. Right. And the thing that I had always loved about hardcore was that when the time and place came for speaking about important things, that time and place was respected. And it wasn't just a, hey, we got so many songs, or, we got merch in the back, and those things, those are very integral to being in a band too, because you got to pay the fucking rent. But hardcore and punk always like set aside a time for something very, very important and sobering when you would hear it. You have all these meatheads, sweaty, half bloody, and then all of a sudden, the tone in the room changes, and it's like, guys, we got to talk about human trafficking. This shit's not a fucking joke, and in that, yeah, some people would see that as, like the buzzkill, let the music breathe, but like the music wouldn't be there if it wasn't for like these passions inside of us that are just fucking enraged. And so trying to marry that with the belief system I had at the time, it was hard, but I think the hardest part about it was the people that you would expect to be excited and be on board for some of the simplest things may be the hardest to sell on it, because oh my gosh, these guys have got tattoos and piercings and they wear all black. I've played shows where the pastor has told people that they have to take their piercings out before they get on stage. We've been asked to cover up tattoos. We've been asked to not play certain songs. Actually, one of my first Christian hardcore bands when I was in high school, we got kicked off of a festival because our song was too violent and content, even though it was about the death of Jezebel. So
it's that distortion, man. It scared them.
I mean, like, in hindsight, I can totally recognize that, you've got a bunch of teenagers, that they sound angry. You read the lyrics and they keep talking about all this dark imagery of one way or another. It's not, if we're talking about flowers, they're covered in blood. Like, it's never everything is shiny, everything is happy. It's going to be so fucking awesome when I die. Amen.
Right. So, you were saying that you were supposed to be a pastor, right?
Yeah. So
like, was that instilled in your parents? I mean, did they like your path that you went to instead?
So that's that's a fair question. And this is, once again, this is like kind of like the weird, I felt alone in a lot of these circles because I had a single mother until I was 10.
Okay.
I didn't meet my biological father until I was 18. And I grew up with my parents on a farm. And my grandfather was a very devout man. And so he was the type that he would do like his own personal Bible study over a bowl of Wheaties and then do farm chores. And then, on Sundays, wake up at 3 a.m, making sure that his Bible study made sense to all the older people, which, by the way, I got to toss out to my grandpa that he led a Bible study for like seniors and he called them all the jumping off crowd. So, so like you see those things, but there was a lot of like kind of just dissonance in my home life for that to even be on the radar. I don't mean to sound weird or dramatic, but it's kind of like being orphaned in your own prophecy, I guess. It's like people are saying like, yeah, he's going to grow up to do awesome things. And then by the time, like someone's changed the 5th diaper, it's like, this kid shits too much. So
story of my life.
So, there's a lot of that insecurity too. So like, and when you're dealing with, all these things that have like put this anxiety and this pressure on you, shit gets really crazy, really fast inside your head and out in the world. Because, and that, because of trying, and I'm very thankful and I'm very like flattered, Brandon, that you felt that way about me. But I always felt like I was like kind of like the asshole that just pushed people too far on things. Like, and and in Christian culture that's pretty regular, but especially like when you got into Christian hardcore and now like you're also talking about how that like kind of brushes up with like straight edge culture. It's like, you get guys that are legit like ruining friendships over things that normal adults do that isn't terribly consequential. And
I would just, not to interrupt you, but my thing about it all was there were certain bands that were using the moniker of being Christian bands because back in those days, that's what was popular.
Oh, yeah.
And I always just felt like out of all the people, you were one of the only ones that I actually believed was a real Christian trying to actually spread the word. And it's not that it affected me. Like I came from a Christian background myself, like my family, they all still go to church. I clearly don't, but it was something that I was used to, so it never really upset me. The only thing that ever bothered me was when someone would go, which I've said on other episodes, and spend like 15, 20 minutes in the middle of their set and then continue to play shows, but they'd give a sermon and then run out of time. And the other bands are like, you guys going to shut the fuck up? We've still got to play.
Yeah. It's like, we got time for one more. It's like, you were done 45 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Oh, no last song, guys. And it's like, I have a very, very, very specific memory of something like that happening. And I'm not going to drop names, but did it happen in the high school cafeteria?
I remember that show, and I don't remember that whole instance. One-on-ones,
Okay.
there's a certain band, they're not a band anymore, and it's not that I'm afraid to say their name because I don't really care, but just for the sake of keeping things somewhat civil, because I still know some of these people are still around here. And I'd rather not cause pointless drama from shit 20 years ago. But they would just, the vocalist would go on, and then they would still want to play shows. And it was, I get it. If that's your thing and that's what you're trying to do, that is awesome. That's great. That's how it works for you guys. But like, just be like, hey, come talk to us afterwards. This is why we do this. This is what we're doing. Come over and talk to us. We'll talk more. Don't preach for so long to where it makes other bands not be able to play at all because you've ran out of time because you've went off for like a 40-minute fucking sermon.
Yeah. And my thing, whenever it went in those places, was that I didn't find it as egregious if it was more hopeful and building than it was, you should be convicted. Like, you should really be thinking about your salvation. If you were to die tonight, do you know where you would go? You know, like, because to me, like, once again, like, there's all these fears and insecurities that within faith systems, some of it just gets really out of whack. Like, it starts to control your daily life. Like, shouldn't, like, the things that, like, oh, should I take this specific key with me today? Like, you start asking yourself all these strange questions of just menial tasks. And then, that I think is indicative of, because at night when you're having trouble sleeping and you're really asking yourself hard questions, it's so much, and there's so much guilt, and there's just so much pressure that we put on ourselves. I think just, from person to person, a lot of times, we care too much what other people think, or maybe not enough, and then we don't deal with it. And, now we got to think about that. But people spiral. And I think that seeing that in real time in that scene was very eye-opening. And at the time, I thought that, it's like, I got to rise to the occasion. I got to be more holy. And so there for a while, I actually gave up touring and playing, a lot of music, because I focused on doing music for a church. But even then, I was in charge of a lot of like the teen functions music. So I would actually have the teens learn church friendly versions of Christian hardcore songs.
Huh. On acoustic guitars or something?
I mean, we'd have like full band, but like, case in point, Sleeping Giant has a song called Tithemy, and it's basically a B minor the entire time with like a few riffs thrown in. And, when you say that to a high schooler with a piano, they can pretty much understand. It's like B minor, we do this walk down. Just keep doing that for 5 minutes. At the end, we're just going to hold B minor, and, you find ways to kind of rearrange some of these songs, but thankfully, some of the buddies that I had already had like some of those softer songs. So, we did Talmudim from For Today. And that's that last track on that Portraits record. And, so seeing, always trying to kind of keep that energy and that spirit alive of hardcore within me and everything that I do. Even if it is kind of cringy at times, you learn, it's like those two flavors don't do that again.
So you're basically like the band director.
I was
Jack Black,
it was Jack Black at a church. It was
okay.
Yeah. So now that I think about it, that's probably way more apropos than I want it to be, because I'm sure someone in the church would have been like, he would have stage dived if we let him, which is true.
Well, he had the kids to catch you.
Yeah. Hell, there's 300 kids from all over the Midwest in this sanctuary.
There you go.
Yeah.
I do remember you were always one of the more entertaining people to play live. Like, you threw it down and you didn't give two fucks.
Well, like, thank you. But like in that, and this is a conversation that I've had with some friends over years, and now that playing with Antlerhead and Quickflower, we kind of all have this idea of like, when you're playing music and especially performing it live, one of the most important jobs is to make people that you want to hear it give a fuck about what's going on. So like, if you're bored by your own music, why the fuck would anyone else be shitting themselves?
Thank you. I've said that forever.
So like, and with Antlerhead, I get to party. So like, I'm playing, I do run tracks, but I also am like using synthesizers, like in an MPC format. I play bass on some songs. I shake tambourines and sleigh bells, and other times, for a couple bars, I might just shake the shit out of my ass.
Yeah.
Because I'm in party mode, and I don't have anything to do right there at the moment except for shake my ass.
Hell yeah.
And then with Quickflower, with that, because of it being this, really making people feel safe, but not safe. So one thing, is like, hey, no one here should be like a shit about race, gender, preferences, name it, but what's a little blood between friends? You guys like want to fuck each other up? There's a floor. Like, and so having those places, and it's the one time where I'm in public or semi-public and I can act like an asshole with a microphone and people will leave me alone about it for 20 minutes. So it's my 20 minutes to get in all the things that I really feel like I just want to sit down and yell at someone, even though I know that that's not conducive. That's not conducive. Like, if I came on here and was just shouting the entire time, one, I'd probably sound like Gilbert Godfrey, fucking Bobcat Goldthwait. And then, the other is like, I didn't understand a single word. He just
sound like TJ Miller, if anything.
All right. All right. I'll take that.
Sure.
Yeah. It's, but yeah, it, just taking, I don't want to say taking advantage of it, but like being fully aware of that moment and going for it, because if you don't, you got to wait at least another 24 hours. And that's if you're touring. Most of the time it's until someone in this room liked you enough or you begged them enough to come back, so, and that's the thing with music. When you go and you see it, you want to be entertained. You want like, and that goes with, from, I want to hear it from across the bar while I drink beer and talk shit about work with my coworkers, out, away from it all, I'm on the other side. Or, it's Friday night and I'm clocking the fuck out.
Mm-hmm.
I think a
So,
lot of people that play music, for the most part, obviously it's their hobby and it's what they do. It's what their release is from normal life. At least that's how I've always looked at it. It's their chance to get out there and be themselves that they can't normally be. But then
right.
a lot of people get embarrassed or nervous or whatever about that. So when they're performing, I've always looked at bands, and some of my band members have been guilty of this as well. If it looks like you're bored, what is the crowd going to think? Is what I've always said. Like, if you're bored, they're bored.
Yep.
And I was like, and they've paid to come, not necessarily, maybe not to see us specifically, but they've paid money more likely to come in here and watch us. So at least I don't care if there's 100 people or if there's 5 people, entertain them.
Right.
Yeah. This is a performance, not a practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And of course, I got to learn those balances because I've definitely fucked up myself. Shit, just Friday, I took a fucking guitar to the face.
Oh, hell no.
Last summer in Columbus, I fucking bashed my head open on my keyboard stand.
How the hell does that happen? That's pretty wild.
So the keyboard stand that I was using at the time it has hard edges for one. But it also had like these like side plate almost looking things that you could like set other things on. And so I was holding on to my rig sitting on the table, head banging. And I went to like move away, but like in headbang in one motion, and my head just made contact with a corner. So
oops.
Yeah.
This
It's
this part actually happened at a Peru show. You remember the American Legion?
Oh yeah.
There. I think it was the last show that they ever had there because for some reason someone took a shit in the sink. And I have a feeling I know who it was, but I till this day I will not rat them out because I didn't see them actually doing it. I just heard that's who did it. But
right.
We played there, and our bass player at the time, he throwing down, and for some reason he threw that bass backwards, and he clocked me right in the fucking eyebrow temple and busted me wide open.
Yeah,
so
I forgot about that.
So I ended up finishing that set, and I was like covered in blood. I was like, well, that's pretty fucking metal.
Yeah. It's like one of those things that in the moment you're just like, well, made for a good show.
Yeah. By the end of it, I look like one of those Norwegian death metal or black metal bands.
Right. I mean, dude, Cam from when I was in Chinese Express, he had burst a blood vessel or something in his nose. And it kept scabbing over because at shows he would pick it. He would like turn his back to the crowd and pick his nose real quick so that he started the bleeding. And then he'd turn around and he'd just have like this like mankind gush of blood down the front of his shirt.
That's gross.
What was gross was that he didn't wash the shirt, so it started to smell like death after a while.
No.
Like death, shit, and BO. Like
no.
So actually it was up at Churubusco. I can never pronounce this name. Churubusco. We always just called it Busco.
Turtle Town?
Yeah.
Turtle Town.
They had shows there?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing that I love about this is that these were all like just like rented halls from like good old boy clubs, and then we bring our PAs in and fuck shit up and never come back.
Yep.
Where was that at in Turtle Town? I mean, it's probably a long time ago. Probably
that was at the Boat and Game Club, I think. I think that's what the name of it was. No, that might there was like it was like one of the, it was basically like for like hunters and fishers like union hall type thing.
I was going to say, like, I have a friend that works at the VFW. Be like, hey, bring the shows back. She probably wouldn't understand what I'm talking about. And she's not into that stuff, but it'd be funny to mess with her.
Literally, just let teenagers rent a VFW that have equipment. That's literally like it. That's all it was, like that was all we could get because we couldn't get in the clubs.
I brought this up on another episode. I think it was one of the last ones we recorded, but do you remember when like the bigger bands came through Peru? Like when As I Lay Dying came through before they were big? And
yeah, they came through Kokomo at Fairfield.
Yeah, and then what was the one that played? I think you were the one that did Rocktoberfest. What was the one that played at the Isaac Walton? Wasn't it the one with the chick singer? I can't think of what they were called.
Oh, yeah, we did have Bloodline Calligraphy. Oh gosh, yeah.
We said it on the other podcast, Ed. Do you remember who it was? It wasn't Bloodline Calligraphy. It was like Walls of Jericho.
Yeah, the female singer.
That wouldn't have been my show, but yeah.
I swear I saw them at the Isaac Walton.
Dang.
But I don't remember. I remember who booked them, and I'm not going to say who it is, but I remember who booked those shows because he was bringing a lot of bands through, and this was before they were like popular, like what they ended up becoming. But I just remember like when As I Lay Dying came through, and then like a year or two later, I was like, oh shit, I remember that band.
Yeah.
That's when their first CD started blowing up. They got really huge, and they'd just come through like our area not too long beforehand, before they were popular.
Dude, that show, the drummer broke his kick pedal. The bassist had to borrow CJ from In the Face of War's bass. Like shit kept breaking during their set. Also, like,
wasn't Dead to Fall on that show too?
Still Breathing.
Okay.
Still Breathing. And that was another female fronted band that was on Solid State years and years ago. I don't know what any of them are doing now, but who knows? Maybe they'll play Furnace Facts next year. So, but yeah, man, all those crazy shows, and even that, how that came about, I think was just message boards, like, hey, we have this small town that's right off of 31 and 24. So if you're like traveling through, it's pretty easy to get to this spot. And then the older brother of the bassist of the band I was in had made a connection out in Jersey. And so we were getting demos in bands like all the time. And so that's how we found Form of Rocket. And fuck, that show is still one of my favorite shows at the Union Hall. Probably my favorite show at the Union Hall.
Mm-hmm. The Union Hall was great. Now they tore that fucker down.
Yep. Now it's a parking lot.
Just still have a show there. Doesn't matter. Right in the parking lot.
I mean, we played on the ground anyways because someone broke the steps before the first band ever played there.
The last time I played there was in To My Dismay in 2008, and that was the show that one of the other bands was witnessed unplugging our guitar player. Like they unplugged his power. Like someone's seen them do it, and they told us who did it, and then I had said something about it, and instantly, and this was another Christian band. They came outside where I was at and threatening to fight me. And he's like, "I'm a cage fighter, dude. You really want to fucking throw down with me?" I was like, "I thought you were a man of God. What are you doing?" Like
cage fighter.
Yeah, he kept throwing out as a cage fighter. My buddy Sean was like, "The fuck's that matter?" He's like, "It's like, just chill, dude." I was like, "We're not gonna rumble out here in this parking lot next to AutoZone. Like, it's what it is,
dude." Wow.
So, but yeah, that was another good classic moment of these dudes that are supposed to be out there spreading the word of God wanting to come out and throw down with their cage fight moves, I guess, on the big 6'3", 350-pound twig kid.
Yep.
Wait, I do remember like another time that someone got dropped because they, once again, toxic bullshit of young bullshit boys, you know. And by no means am I like dismissing it. It's just you know, I think about myself as a younger person. I just like throw my hands up. I'm like, fuck.
We all did pretty cringy things.
Yeah. And, you know, but in that some of it, you know, it's kind of like so and so is there. Guess what happens? Like someone shit the tub. Someone shit the tub. So I do remember another show that was at the event center, which basically was where the first Rocktoberfest was, and then it became well, it was a furniture center, and then actually the teacher Jason Gornto reached out to me about using the old furniture shop for the show. And so that was probably my first, you know, my first like chance of like booking at a spot that was that large. I had no idea what to do with it, but years later there was another show, and I remember I had rolled into town. I was living in Ohio, I think, at the time, and I'd rolled into town, and one of the guys that came with me didn't take shit. Probably should have took a little more shit, but I remember he comes in, he's like, these two little fuckers wouldn't get off my hood of my car. And I was like, so? And he's like, jacked him. We need to leave. I was like, all right.
That was like definitely probably one of the shows that I booked, because I was the one that was doing the shows at the event center. Like,
man.
Like, it was in 2008 through 2009. I was the only one putting on shows in Peru, and I always did it at the event center because I could get the building for $200, but I'd get $100 back. And then some jackoff went and wrote their initials on the wall, tiny little spot, and they found it, and they wouldn't let me book it there anymore because someone damaged the wall. I was like, he literally took a black Sharpie and wrote 2 letters, and they were like not super big, but big enough to where they could be seen, and they freaked the fuck out.
West Side?
Yeah.
Well, shit, it's on the east side of Broadway.
Oh,
so.
true.
Yeah, it's on the east side of Broadway next to the courthouse.
Yeah.
It's not even, it's a boutique store.
We should have Rocktoberfest 2023 in there. Just
I don't even know if people would come out these days, because I don't think the young kids are involved with music as what they used to be.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about. I don't have kids, but I'm a professional uncle, so I hear about like kids these days just aren't into music. But
trust me, they're not. I've got 4 in my house at the moment, from almost 12 to going on 2, and yeah, music stuff that I do, which I haven't done anything since the Beast, but they they wanted my band shirts, and they wanted stuff like that. And Stepson has on his phone, he's got our CD on there, and that's like the only CD he's got on there is To Might Is May. I was like, yeah, well, whatever. His favorite song is Sexual Creature. I was like, of course it is.
I learned it from you, Dad.
Yeah.
Is this about you, Dad?
Nope, it's about our old keyboard player.
I think it'd be even funnier. I don't know the lyrics offhand, but it's like, it's about your mom. Shut up.
No. But it is
Oh.
actually kind of funny, because he's to that age to where he wants to do your mom jokes, except he does it to his sister. He's like, hey, dumbass, stay mom.
Yeah,
Your mom.
Yeah.
So.
And you know, it's like, gosh, okay, so like 12, 13, yeah, like we were already like going to see bands at Bunker Hill.
That's where I played my first show.
Damn, yeah, Bunker Hill Community Center. I think that would have been 2001 Halloween Massacre. Saw Levidity and Rupture Christ and Lust of Decay and Blockhead. I know. Fog, the fucking Indiana black metal Fog.
I remember all these names. It's like nostalgic hearing them.
Dude, like being a kid at those shows, you know, you totally, it's absolutely wild because once again, like, you know, alternative music it gets to be a bit of a wild west or a rabbit hole depending on which way you take. But you know, being that young and like, you know, at that point in time, you know, we didn't have the streaming obviously, so I think a lot of people forget, like, there were dudes that would just show up with like boxes of CDs and shirts of bands that you would never ever get to see, much less like records that would never be in your local store. So, you know, you go to shows at Fairfield and it would be, I think it was half mass distribution. And so it would be like all this like Christian death metal and, you know, like, you know, it was like the only place that you could get Vengeance Rising, you know, and then, you know, turn around and you go to shows with Rupture Christ and they've got the gore grind and the porno grind distribution there too. So I remember a buddy of mine had copped God, we were such shits. He had copped a handful of cash before we had left for the show, and he went through the porno grind section and just like bought as much as he could. And I was like, are any of those bands good? He's like, I didn't buy it for the music. And I'm like, oh, nice backup plan. Can I have the CDs? You take the booklets, I'll take the CDs.
Oh my.
But yeah, wild times, man. Just like there's a part of me that's glad that like a lot of the bullshit that like we saw and went through, you know, I think as people for the most part we're a little bit better. We're like 2% better. But I don't know, man. I think one thing that has like stayed constant through all the years is that when you go to see live music, like you need something else than what you've had all day. And to rob someone of that gave you money to do that, that's a fucking dick move.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think anyone taking money from someone in general, just stealing, is fucked up in general. But Ed and I, this is kind of goes back to some of the stuff that we talked about on other episodes, and I don't know if you've dealt with this recently, but I guess there's venues now trying to take cuts of merch sales. Have you heard of this shit?
Oh yeah, that's been around for years. Fuck.
Not that I've ever experienced. I've never encountered it, but
there was a joint in Kettering, Ohio. And it was a Christian venue.
Huh.
Yeah, I know.
Give your money to Jesus.
Well, you know, there's two sides of it that like, right. You know, like the thing is that if you are smaller venues and like obviously like these folks are hardly getting to the next town, that's super fucked. However, like, you know, all these places that are corporately owned, like they're more set up like something like a hoedown and a flea market. You know, like, you know, you go to the amphitheaters and the PA is not there. You know, like all that production is brought in by somebody. All that merch is brought in by somebody. And so all those types of places, you know, it's more of like the idea of like you're paying for this slot at this flea market, if you will. And you know, you get all your vendors and stuff and you're paying on that. You know, as a person like in commerce, I can see how on paper it works, but it only works for massive functions. It only works for when you've got hundreds, if not thousands of people that remotely makes sense because of, you know, someone's charging a spot of their property to be used for sales that day. You know, if you had the same parking lot that you brought in food trucks every day, I imagine, unless you were, fucking saint with a heart of pure gold, you wouldn't charge those food trucks to park there on your property throughout the day. So there's like this business side of it that's like, okay, that makes sense, but really it's fucked because you're barely able, like a lot of these bands aren't even able to claim taxes half the fucking time, and that's with the ones that are trying to make it a business. There's a weird bubble. You've got the folks that they're new to the game and they're trying their hardest to make this shit happen, but everything costs out the fucking ass. And so either you go broke trying to cover what you are, your projected needs of your fan base, or you end up kind of getting stalled while everyone's working Uber, or on the other side of it, it makes sense. Go ahead. It's like, take merch cuts from Taylor Swift and tax the churches, like there's enough there. Like that's creating enough jobs in that moment, because, even if the only way that the person who was running the merch booth that day got paid from the residuals of those merch cuts, or, that time of, or parking space being rented out, it paying that person's wage to run the merch booth so that the band doesn't have to. Those kind of concessions make sense to me, but the rest of it's very, very sharky, very sharky. And I had buddies that played Fire with Fire, and so they would actually leave a chunk of merchandise in the van, and you'd have like a couple layers, and so each time you went out to like grab a cigarette or whatever, you'd put on another 2 shirts of your own, walk in the venue and take those 2 shirts off and put them in the tub, so that your inventory wasn't recorded correctly, which is sharky. But once again, if you've got 6 guys who are hardly old enough to rent a fucking car, and they're somehow supposed to create a career, like something has to give somewhere. And there's no one on like stopping bands on the highway and saying, hey, do you guys have enough gas money? Can I pay for your gas?
Good Samaritans.
Yeah. And so like it has to come from somewhere, but you have to think about the scale of it, or else you're cutting into people one way or another.
It's again, it's bad enough the small bands struggle. Like I would understand if you took it from like the Taylor Swift, for example, like she can afford it. It ain't gonna hurt her any. She'll make that up the next day or that night. I mean, but the little people, I don't know why suddenly people want to take advantage of the little bands at all. It baffles me.
Yeah. I mean, like 10% on a $10-15 band shirt, and you sell maybe 4, and you want 10% of that,
right?
Eat shit,
right?
Like,
yep.
But once again, in thing of large conglomerate and amphitheaters and massive coliseums, there's people fucking working. There's people, like, yes, they are selling you a $7 beer. However, hopefully the person who's pouring that beer is making than $7 an hour in that. And I think it wouldn't be as bad and as egregious if it was a little bit more considerate for all hands on deck. But it really just comes down to lining pockets of folks that are, I'm tired of lint taking up space in my pocket. Need more money, less lint.
Oh, lint. All I think about is fish sandwiches. I don't know why.
Fuck.
Reached in my pocket and all I got was this fish sandwich.
Or is it Fish Friday? Something like that, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, thought so. I mean, I was
Yep.
born Catholic. I kind of remember that stuff.
Yeah.
Raised
Also,
Catholic.
a lot of McDonald's know that if it's raining to drop Filet-O-Fish. That's because apparently when it rains, I'm assuming the smell of petrichor makes people think of worms and fish. So I don't know,
McDonald's sells a
but
lot more fish sandwiches on
Mhm.
rainy days.
yeah, I mean, and it's wild. I know that sounds like bullshit, but I worked McDonald's and I saw it, and every fucking time it start raining, someone who is in charge would be like, you know, I need 6 filet down, and it's like, why? You're all just superstitious, and I don't know, like maybe even they've got like some kind of in joke with the regulars, like I don't give a shit if you're in the middle of work dropping off your kid. If it starts raining, come here and buy one of these shitty sandwiches.
It's true.
I'm not a big fish fan in general. I don't like seafood really, so
I had one last night from like Culver's on the way back home. I had to get the walleye because it just sounded weird.
the walleye.
Walleye sandwich.
Staring back at you.
Do they
I
fish
didn't-
it
I
out
didn't
of
look
the
at it.
local pond around here?
Probably the sewage waste had extra eyes on it.
It's out of the Wabash.
It's out of Ohio. Put them.
Oh man.
Don't piss off the people in Ohio. They
Sorry.
might be listening.
Well, hey, I'm thinking about your people. That's bullshit. Can't. Yeah.
Aren't y'all for lovers?
Yes, but not if your house stinks like toxic fumes. Huh?
That yeah. Now that I would I'd be shitty too.
That wasn't their fault that the trains crashed and all that other stuff. That's a sensitive topic. You need to be more sensitive.
Sorry, I'm from Indiana. I'm from Indiana. We're the shitty neighbor. Remember?
I thought it was funny that people through here were like, I can't believe they're hauling all that toxic shit over through there on those train tracks. Like, what the fuck you think goes through Peru? We literally have Norfolk Southern comes right through town. It's a damn depot. Like, it's the same stuff hauling through here as it was over there.
Yep.
Yeah.
You just don't. Half the time you don't know it though. You're just, it's just a tanker. Huh.
Well, half the time when it's going through, we're just like, get the fuck out of here. I got to get to the hospital.
They've got all the roads blocked except for the underpass on the main street. Other than that, you can't get through town.
God. And like, I grew up by the train tracks. So like when I left the farm, like grew up off of like West 7th. So like, you know, for me, like if I hear train tracks at like 3 a.m, I'm like, yes, childhood. Not to be confused with this joint that played in Chicago though. Oh my God. I won't say the name of the venue, but anyone that is listening to this, if you reach out to me at Tim Neff on the web, I will let you know. It's in Chicago. It's in this like industrial park, and it's right like across the street from a train switching station. And so from the moment we pulled up to the moment we left, you know, probably like good somewhere to 6 to 9 hour day, you know, when it's all said and done. The entire fucking time outside, it was just and like it would stop. You'd be like, and that. I think I could even hear it inside the venue. Like it was so fucking loud and so fucking constant.
You totally got cut off.
I was say, whenever you were saying it went
it's almost
silent.
like you were cussing, but like your signal went out. It was weird.
Maybe for the best.
They're listening in and now they're monitoring.
You will not talk shit about our trains.
Oops, don't. Yeah.
They heard me say something, and now their brother's already watching. I'm already being monitored because of my other podcast. Now they're already monitoring this one.
Right. Now this one's talking all crazy church stuffs.
We
but,
can't talk about trains anymore. We got to call them something else.
yeah. Neil Young's.
Neil Young. We're next to the Neil Youngs.
Yep.
I actually think the place that you're referring to, do you think that was what Steve was talking about, Ed, in episode 2? Same place?
No, because I think it was downtown where the trains actually go over.
Okay.
And
I
it's
just know he said
loud,
where they
yeah.
were, that the trains over there. And yeah, I'm not 100% familiar with how shit goes on in Chicago. So
Neither am I. Every time I'm in there, I feel like when you play a video game that you just got that had like all the levels, like this goes to show my age that that you could choose different levels. You didn't have to, earn them or whatever. But you remember like old Mega Man? It's like, I'm gonna go after Cutsman first.
Yep.
But I feel like I just every time I play Chicago, I get respawned in some place I've never been in Chicago, and I'm just you're trying to tell people to come out, and it's like, where are you? It's like, I don't fucking know.
Because all the neighborhoods look the same.
Well,
literally, you'd be driving somewhere. I'm like, have I been in this neighborhood? They all look like the Cosby house. I shouldn't say Bill Cosby, but whatever. They all look like the Cosby Show house, or whatever the house they had.
Yeah, I mean, well, that, and it's a much larger city than Indianapolis, but you also got the thing where you got roads on top of roads. Man, I got confused in that shit way too. I was losing my mind because the GPS is like, turn left on this road. I'm like, that road isn't anywhere near here. And then you turn left anyways, and find out that you were actually supposed to be 300 feet above you.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Chicago. I mean, I'm sorry, but it's just a big confusing smorgasbord pile of shit. Sorry.
I like Chicago. I just don't ever want to be the one driving through it. If I could be chauffeur through Chicago,
I feel I'm okay with that, but I also feel terrified too. Like, oh my God, everybody's just kind of, that one point where everybody gets stuck in traffic, and it's like, this is very unnerving. But whatever.
Dude, yeah, in Chicago at 2:00 in the morning, I have seen cars driving the perpendicular way in traffic just to take that first exit so they can get the fuck out. It's wild. And then 2 miles up, it's 3 lanes closed and one guy with a welder.
But musically about Chicago, just and I said in another podcast that even playing there, I just feel like I'm a small sperm in a sea of sperms. And then when I leave, I feel very almost defeated, because I probably didn't make a single impact in this town of any sort. These people just nodded their heads and enjoyed it for a second, but we're long forgotten. You know what I mean? I don't know how a band makes it in there. It's, to me, seems to be the roughest kind of scene ever. And they have one. I mean, they are a scene in itself. There's always a show, places to play, a lot of venues. But
absolutely. I think with that, it seems in general, kind of the bigger the city it is, the less of notice and draw you've got, the more it seems like you're going to the casino knowing you're gonna lose.
Yep.
I went to the casino for networking.
Right.
Yeah, but
you got Denny's to look forward to after that defeat, though, somewhere.
Hopefully, depending on what state you're in. I mean, fucking Minnesota only had Perkins for the longest time. So,
I always preferred Steak and Shake if they're still open 24 hours. I don't know if they are because of beastly things.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a shame, dude.
Well, after my time in Ohio, I became quite fond of Waffle House. So going from Waffle House to Perkins within a matter of a month and a last minute decision.
I think they tore down the Waffle Houses around here.
Is Waffle
Yeah.
House a chain though, or is they just call it that?
There is like actual Waffle House chain, but I don't think the one that they tore down was chain.
Because they're called something American Pancake, but like I didn't know if like, oh, that is weird. Then I've never been to Waffle House. Holy shit! Then
if it doesn't look like greasy 60s sign on the outside, like
Yeah.
Mm.
The yellow sign with black letters that say Waffle
some-
House on the
some dude-
interstates.
some dude we were hanging out with, some dude had Waffle House fucking sandals on. I'm like, where the fuck did you get the? I don't know why you had them on, but I just thought of that.
dude, yeah. Anytime like the overnight diner experience, I think, is cathartic for bands. It's a time to regroup, get some fucking food, caffeine, and most of the time, you're talking about the shit that happened over the night or whatnot, or sometimes you just get into straight like I'm dying mode, and you've got the guy that's like at the table by himself eating crackers and drinking water.
That'll teach you,
Man. Yeah.
All this talk about food is now making me hungry here at almost 11 o'clock at night.
It's a great time to eat.
I had a peanut butter sandwich and it didn't go well. I don't know why. I feel like I shouldn't be eating peanut butter, but I'm not allergic to it.
Like just is it like do you feel bad for legumes or
No, just I feel bloaty. I don't know why. I mean, it's just
like
random. Yeah.
Okay.
No, fuck that. If I'm gonna eat them,
You bound up your intestines.
Yeah. Like I feel bad because I feel bad, not feel bad as in like I've got something weird going on.
Oh no, I don't. Fuck legumes. I'll eat them. I don't give a shit.
I always thought that it would be really fun to have like a death metal band that like took the approach of food that like Weird Al did with his songs, but like played with it. Like it's actually a song about a bucket of chicken, but it's like bucket of flesh. I don't know.
I'm sure somebody's done it.
I feel
I'm
like
sure.
I the thing that troubles me is that I feel like it was a vegan band that did it and it wasn't in jest. I feel like it was, like we've lost songs that make us laugh about food. I don't know where they went.
We were talking about like a Christian record store. Like it just made me think about like they had put one in our town in like a parking lot. I don't know. I think it's some sort of trailer that's used for different kind of businesses. And I remember going there thinking, oh yeah, and my uncle like drove me there when I was young. And I was looking at all the metal CDs. I'm like, I do not recognize these bands at all. And the girl was like, oh, can we help you? I don't think you've ever been to this store. It's all Christian music. And I'm like, my uncle like sat there, didn't know what to do. I don't know. And then we left because we didn't buy anything. I didn't know how to feel.
Yeah, you don't recognize
I do not.
anything.
No.
And the stuff that you do remotely recognize, it looks like the Wish version.
Like there's no Slayer here. More like Roman
Instead
Slayer.
of Slayer, they have prayer.
Prayer. I'm
Right.
like sitting there like, probably Mortification and Tourniquet.
They might have been there, but I didn't know. I could have probably bought their shit. I mean, they were good. I heard.
I mean, in hindsight, I could still fuck with some Mortification, and like I still listen to a lot of the Christ Core stuff to this day.
Isn't Zayo like Christian or at one point? No.
A long ago, and I think it was more along the lines of like the vocalist at the time, because he went on to do Symphony in Peril, and Symphony in Peril still continues to be gospel based, whereas once they got Dan, their new vocalist, he was more interested in more topics and more imagery. So but yeah, oh my gosh, like another thing that shows my age is even back then I felt was before Under Oath was the huge band, it was Zayo. Everyone knew Zayo. Zayo was like the Christian hardcore not sonically Slipknot, but everyone knew Slipknot, you know?
Right.
And it is wild to see how their career, you know, all the things that they've done and still continue to go. And shameless plug, I'm really excited. I'm actually playing a festival with them this summer at Post Fest. So
Nice.
they were my first Indianapolis show at the Emerson. So, and that was supposed to be their last. Yeah, that was supposed to be their last tour. So
I saw them in Warsaw. I saw them Warsaw play a Park Pavilion when I was in high school. It was so random. I'm like, why the hell would they be here? But at the time, to me, I thought they were like famous. So I was like, why would they play a little shitty Park Pavilion?
Well, that was the other.
Yeah.
That was what was beautiful about that kind of music, though, is that it was so important to so many people, but it wasn't like so many people that it became this how do I put this? Like, it didn't become like an organized club. You know, like you know, like there was a different, like, you know, quote unquote paying your dues or whatever. But, you know, a lot of the musicians, you know, they're just folks, you know, and over the years, I am really thankful for the ones that I'd met and the ones that had like taken time to give me advice or hear me out on things. And I think that is something that is in general missing from music culture, is that vulnerability and that down to earth atmosphere. Like, yes, rock stars and pop stars are obviously, you know, they're cool to have. They're a great aesthetic, but, and, you know, they might have some songs on the records that might mean something to someone, but it kind of feels like a shame that they may never get to have as many conversations as someone who didn't have as much commercial success, but was able to impact a movement or a group of people. And, you know, especially bands like Zayo, where they've been doing it for damn near 30 years at this point, you know, and just continuing to evolve in what they do and how they do it.
Right.
So,
I mean, I admire a band that actually goes out and still meets the fans and like hangs out the merch table. And, you know, I met a lot of cool bands I like because of that. And then there's a few I lost respect for when they didn't do it. And it's like, I hope to get here. Why would you do that? I mean, I don't have to feel entitled for anything, but it'd just be nice to, you know, like their music meant a lot to me. And if they don't come out, that's a little annoying, just a little bit. You know, some don't like to be bothered. I get it. They probably on tour and don't feel like mingling because that'll wear you out enough. But I don't know, I shouldn't take it personally, but, you know.
I mean, there's like valid reasons here and there, but it really does come down to like, I hate to say it this bluntly, but like when you're gone, who else is gonna care? You know, who else? Like, if you continue to snub people that like what you do, you better be putting something out that they can look past. But on the other hand, like, you know, for vocalists, if you've got a vocalist that doesn't do meet and greets after the show on tours, part of that makes sense because of, like, you know, if they're a person that is prone to straining their voice out, going and talking to folks for the next 3 hours is not going to be conducive to tomorrow's
that's a good example of why they shouldn't.
Yeah, but like, even then, like, you know, it wouldn't kill you to go out, wave, and, you know, and at the beginning, you know, I think that's something else, is that like bands, you know, watch each other, you know, pump each other up. I'm not the best at like being in the crowd and watching the band that I'm playing with, but I do try to keep within like earshot so I can actually hear the music.
Right.
And, you know, be able to experience, you know, it that way. So, but, you know, I've definitely had shows where I'm nearly like blacked out, exhausted, like Meatloaf status. That's my goal. I just want to get to the point where I pass out when I'm done. Wake me up.
Did you say Meatloaf status?
Yeah, Meatloaf status.
I was like, oh, rest in peace, Meatloaf.
Yes, rest in peace, man. I love Meatloaf. Bat Out of Hell is a perfect fucking record. Like it's so good and it's so ingenious and
I like
anyone
the fact that like he was an actor too. Like he just show up, not just like Fight Club. He was also in another movie where like I think he was helping an evangelist. But I'm like, is that Meatloaf? What the hell?
yeah. I mean, well,
Yeah.
he was a like not Broadway, but he did shows and stuff.
Mm.
And so there was a documentary on Bat Out of Hell that if you get a chance to watch it, you should absolutely do it.
And you know why I liked him? He wasn't a very attractive man. He just did what he did. So that just made him a little more genuine. And he's just a big guy and he didn't give a shit.
Yeah, just go
Yeah.
out there, fucking belt it, lay it all out.
Right.
If they don't fucking like it,
Yeah.
they can leave. If
He
they
just
did
didn't
like
care.
it, yeah. And I think that that's something that a lot of us should take into account. Like it's your art, it's your voice.
Mm.
You know, you should have some sense of pride in it because you're sharing it. You know, you wouldn't want to share something shameful.
Right.
So, you know, there is that weird line of it. And I think that, yeah, some people get kind of lost in the rock star sauce, you know. It's very easy to be like, man, there were so many people out tonight. That was so cool. They all blah blah blah. And you know, you walk around with your chest puffed out and you think like, you know, you're the fucking norm of this bar, you know.
Dude, I don't even feel like that. And I've been playing for a while. And like, even when we had a big show one time, intermingling, well, nobody really noticed me. I just kind of had my hoodie over my head. Not because I just like to mingle, but I also don't like to stand in one place. And, you know, I had a few people come up to me and like, you know, I thank them. It's not like I'm being stuck up. But no, most of the time I don't like to mingle like with people. I don't know why. It's just like in my head. Well, you know what's going on in my head. I'm like, what the hell did I do wrong? What the hell did I do wrong? Every time
Right.
analyzing the last thing you did, like, oh shit, did I screw up that part? You know, always it never. And like, I wish I could tour. I never had. So it's like it'd be interesting to like of all the things that jump in my head each show. Like, you know, I've done the Weekend Warrior thing, but never a full tour. I can't imagine how my like anxious brain would handle that. Like, oh shit, what happened last night? You know,
I shut down and shut it out. Like I get into like definitely like there's, you know, I may be up till 3 a.m. trying to shut my brain off, but
it's a high because even if you didn't do any kind of drinking or drugs, somehow you have a hard time sleeping because of the high, whatever that is.
Absolutely. The fucking adrenaline alone. I mean, yeah, this past weekend, I get major adrenaline highs from Quick Flower because I'm able to pretty much do whatever the fuck I want because I just have a microphone. So I get to do all kinds of ridiculous antics and you know, whether that's crawling up on shit or rolling around, you know, with that, you know, it is something else though when someone shares with you that they had like an emotional moment or an emotional connection somewhere between the start of your set and the end. And I don't know, I guess because of what music has meant to me, I've always kind of sought to return that favor as much as I could, as limited as, you know, what I'm giving you is.
All right.
So, you know, I'm not up there like belting it like Lizzo or anything, but in that, you know, there's the moment where, you know, you kind of fill in that rock star thing because that's your job. that's the one job you need to do for
Right.
30 minutes.
That's when you turn into somebody else. You need to be that rock
Yeah.
star. Like you said, you give energy, you get it back. That's the only
Yeah.
way you actually get through to anybody.
Yeah.
Unless you're a coffee house acoustic guy, then you got to sit there. But you know,
But
we're
even
not-
then,
yeah.
there's still a way that you address, like if you think of like frontmen in general, like the gambit from we'll say Corpse Grinder all the way to Frank Sinatra.
Right.
Those are two wildly different examples, but both knew how to engage with a crowd and excite and keep them captive between what he was doing and how he was reaching out. I always think of like, the lounge singers that go out with the microphone and hassle each table.
Yeah, start singing them.
Yeah,
that kind of reminds me when you mentioned Corpse Grinder. Like, I was a huge Corpse fan back in the day, and I seen them like a shitload of times. I don't know how many times. And then
very jealous.
well, you could have came to Fort Wayne. They played, but I was gonna actually mention the Fort Wayne show because I not seen them in years. I kind of lost touch with them because they went a little. They didn't. It wasn't exciting to me anymore what they were doing. I mean, they're still cool, but I was like, I'm gonna check them out. And I just noticed. I don't know if they've always been doing this, and maybe I'm spoiled by banter, but like, they literally just came out, no intro music, started playing. And in between songs, there's no banter. They might have, Corpse Grinder might have talked a little bit, but like, it was like silence. There was no like backup track kind of. It was so weird. It was just like almost watching like an amateur band up until they started playing. But once they played, they're flawless. But it was so weird. I was like, has this always been this way? And I just didn't give a shit at the time because it was Cannibal Corpse. But like, I don't know. It was definitely eye-opening to me because I had not seen him in that long. And I'm spoiled by bands that have backup tracks going between songs, banter, and I don't know.
I think it's the letterbox effect. Like, now that we've got movies in widescreen, like, or whenever we see something in full screen, we're like, the fuck is this?
Right.
Yeah. You get so used to that letterbox of like the
right. Yep. Like, right. You just because usually that keeps the pace going for the show as long as there's some kind of form. That's like, I feel like since they're Cannibal Corpse, they don't give a shit, and that's fine. That's the biggest death metal band in the world. But it was just interesting to me how they did that, and I didn't notice it until now.
I think that like is something that you just see like within like certain fan bases and certain genres, because there are some a lot of bands, like if you ask them honestly, like, why did you start having tracks in between your songs instead of talking or whatever, it's like, because we didn't want the people to start talking. Like,
that's true. They lose interest.
Yeah, the more you treat it like a movie, the quieter it is in the crowd. And but there's still, to this day, you're not going and seeing a symposium and then there's a backup track with a presentation in between, like the pages flipping, everyone gets up, they do their golf clap, bow, but that obviously you can't do that in a bar setting, because depending on who you are and who they are, you might get eaten alive.
Right. That's why, again, to the Corpse thing, I just found that funny that they were literally like a amateur band that barely speaking, just kind of hanging out until the next song. And I'm like, whatever, that's kind of funny to me.
Yeah. I definitely, I envy that, to be able to engage that much, because like with certain other bands, you do that and no one's talking over Meat Hook Sodomy.
No, I mean, they all scream when he says the name, like, no.
Yeah, Yeah. Whereas, I had a chance to see the Death Cab doing the anniversary at Transatlanticism live. And it's this incredible record. And, we find out when they hit the stage, a couple songs in, they're going to do it. Like, holy shit. And I've got some two fucking meatheads behind me asking when they're going to play Crooked Teeth. And I'm like, that's not even this record.
Well, I feel like this is kind of a funny pet peeve. I don't know, maybe some people do it. I don't like looking at a band's set list ahead of time. It ruins the magic of what they're bringing to you. But some people are into that. They want to see what songs they're playing. I don't know. I never understood that, honestly. Like, maybe I guess it varies for person to person as far as like what they want, what they're expecting to hear, and then what they want to hear.
Yeah, because you got jam bands that never play the same thing twice.
Right.
But yet they've still got a lot of people that they expect to hear certain standard songs, and those are in there.
Right.
But you don't want to be to the point where there was a band that we were friends with that incredible musicians, great music. Their vocalist at the time, and this was over 20 years ago, he
a cat.
Yes. Hi, you want to join this conversation? All right. He had the same speeches for each song. So it would be these beautiful words, but it would be the same damn words for months on end. Every Friday, Saturday kind of a thing, And it got to the point where some people were, able to mouth along the speech, and it's like, yee.
Yeah, that I'm assuming. Well, I was gonna say, like, you should always prepare for a new crowd, but whatever. I'm not the artist.
Well, I think it just, I don't know. There's so much, like, music is living and breathing, and the crowd is a living and breathing group of living and breathing organisms,
Right.
So like, I don't know how else to say it other than to prepare your set like a choose your own adventure. Like having things that, yes, once we get to the third song, there's a hard left into this wall, or whatever. But okay, depending on how this crowd is, we might switch this song for this song, or we may cut this one completely, not due to time, but just due to this gang ain't gonna get it.
Yep.
There's an Antlerhead song that live, for some reason, we would always find that we would kind of lose folks. And I started making the joke, like, that's the I gotta go grab another beer song, because it was later in the set and it had like slower verses and everything. And if you do that verse twice, then people think like, oh, it's another slow bit for 12 bars. I need to make sure that I get another PBR before they go finish up and do their wild stuff and get the fuck out of here. And like, you obviously, you're not a mind reader, but if you're paying attention to your crowd and like really being intimate with your songs and care about how your music is not only communicated from you, but how it's being received. And I don't mean in a way of like, you change everything, you don't change shit, but like the way you present, like, obviously I wouldn't go into a hospital screaming. That's not a great place.
Right.
But I don't whisper, there's a fire, everyone evacuate, like
tornado.
Yeah.
Get down.
Come with me if you want to live.
Yeah, really, literally. Huh.
So yeah, I definitely think that, yeah, like, have like bumper guards up for what you're doing, have your backing tracks, have your your interlude set, have sets ready, have things ready, but also, practice things going sideways at practice,
Mm-hmm.
like if you're at practice and half of the fucking power goes out in the room, you know what? Fuck it. Whoever's power went out, have them try to figure it out. See if you can write out the rest of this song.
Right.
It's just little things like that. You just, and people being mean, I don't think is a rite of passage. I don't think that is like where we should cut our teeth. But unfortunately, I think that's where a lot of us have.
Yeah, well, it depends on the situation, but I don't think I've had any mean people as far as my experience with it. Or maybe you have. I don't. Well, it sounds like it. And you had like people dogging on your music when it was the same message. I'm like,
yeah. I mean, you've got that. You've got people that unplug you, but yeah, I've definitely had like stuff like that. I've had microphones taken away. It happens, and part of it, is in how you react to that. But like, I think just in general, when you are creating and trying to put music out there, that we don't stoop to that level of being intentionally harsh or mean for unjust cause. Like if you're going to be mad about shit and you're going to call someone an asshole, then like, let's make sure that it's about some asshole shit, and like, it's like, oh, they talked bad about me. And it's like, so fucking what? Like, it's like, have you been in a van with you for 3 days? You stink.
Right.
So, sometimes that shit happens, but yeah.
I do feel bad for the bands that stink because, obviously shower access is hard work. Yeah.
Oh my God. I was told that I needed to shower or I'd get left in Minnesota. So I took the idea of scene trash way too far.
I mean, you can go to Walmart and just fucking clean up. It's okay,
Don't ever shave in a Walmart sink. It is the worst.
And I think on that
I was
note,
like, bro,
I gotta wrap this one up. We're going on 2 hours here, guys.
Oh shit! Feel free to edit me.
No, it's all good. I don't take the time to edit. I'm lazy.
All right.
a lot of positives towards the end. It was good.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me out.
Yeah.
What we've been doing is whoever comes on the show, we've been taking their song, like one of their newest releases, and we play it at the end of the episode. So I think I messaged you earlier. If there's anything you want us to include, just go ahead and email it over and I'll add it to the end of the episode. But if you have a specific song in mind, you want to go ahead and tell them what it is and where they can check you guys out at.
Yeah. So on all socials, you can find Antlerhead at Antlerhead Music, even antlerheadmusic.com. For Quickflower, it's at Quickflower Band. And I think the song I'm gonna send you guys tonight is one that I did a while ago. That it's just me. Song called Heart of Wood. Probably gonna do some more solo stuff in the future now that I've got some better recording stuff and back in music regularly. So yeah, this one's called Heart of Wood.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, Tim, definitely appreciate you coming on and talking with us tonight. It's good to reminisce about some of the old days, and it wasn't all bad.
Absolutely.
Anyone out there still listening, you guys are troopers. A lot of these episodes have gone really long that we've been noticing, but once you guys start talking, it's hard to not listen.
Yeah.
So
yep.
Definitely
I'm really
appreciate it. Anyone out there that would like to be a part of this podcast, if you want to be on a future episode of Dark Side of the Scene, you can send an email to brandon@darksideofthescene.com and we will get you scheduled. Right now, whenever this one releases, probably in a few weeks, like Ed and I talked about earlier, we're booked out for almost like 6 weeks already. So it's it got really, really intense for a second. Like everyone wanted to come on the show before it was even released. So we're got a lot of positivity going on here with the scheduling. So let's hope it continues that way.
Yeah.
So now that it's been released and free for people to listen to, now they're going to be like, no, I don't want to be on that fucking show.
Yeah. Fuck that Ed guy.
Yeah.
Fuck those guys.
Yeah, fuck them.
But yeah, definitely appreciate coming
See you
out,
guys.
Tim, and talking with us tonight.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Have a good night.
Yep, you too.
It should be alarming when I hear you knocking. I snooze and I wait to let you in. It leaves you